Welcome to online CET class. So in today's class we are going to discuss MCQs on mechanics 2 and mechanical properties of solids and fluids. So first question, a football player throws a ball with velocity 50 meter per second at an angle 30 degree from the horizontal. The ball remains in air for given g is 10 meter per second square. So what they have given here, u is equal to 50 meter per second. So this is the initial velocity of projection. Angle of projection is given, it is 30 degree. So it moves in a parabolic path following projectile motion. G is given, it is 10 meter per second square. So I need to find how much time it will spend in air, that is time of flight. We know that time of flight is 2u sin theta by g. Just substitute and simplify. 2 into u is 50 into sin 30 is half divided by 10. So this 2 gets cancelled, will get you to be 5 seconds. That is option C. We shall move on to next one. A cricket ball is thrown with a velocity of 19 meter per second at an angle of 30 degree. Maximum height reached by it is. So we know that maximum height reached, h, is given by u square sin square theta divided by 2g. So just substitute and simplify. U square is 19 square, sin 30 is half, so sin square 30 is half square divided by 2 into 10. So 19 square is 361 into, this comes to denominator, so it will become 4 into 2 8, this becomes 80. So 361 by 80. So just simplify this. You will get 4.5125 meters. So here none of the options match, so there must be some printing mistake in the question. Okay, let us not worry about that. Let's move on to next one. At what angle should a projectile be thrown upwards so that maximum height covered by it is half the range? So what they have given is h is equal to r by 2. So what should be the angle of projection? So substitute for this, u square sine square theta divided by 2g, this is maximum height, that should be equal to, I will take this half outside, r is u square sine 2 theta divided by g. Now u square get cancelled, 2g get cancelled, sine square theta is equal to sine 2 theta. So sine square theta is equal to, you know that sine 2 theta can be written as 2 sine theta into cos theta. So sine theta get cancelled, you will get, oh, 2 is also not there, got cancelled. Okay, this 2 is there. So it is 2 sin theta cos theta, 1 sin theta get cancelled, sin theta is equal to 2 cos theta. So I will get it to be, send this cos theta to this side, you will get tan theta is equal to 2. So you will get tan theta is equal to 2. So tan inverse of 2 is theta. Notice one thing, tan 60 is root 3. So this value is 1.732. So it should be greater than, tan inverse 2 should be, it should be greater than 60 degree. So it should be greater than 60 degree means only option that matches is 64 degree. It cannot be 90 degree because tan 90 is infinity. So the answer should be 64 degree, that is option C. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A stone projected with a certain velocity at an angle of 40 degree has a range r. Then the other value of the angle of projection for it to have same range is. See, in order to have same range, one angle if it is theta, then other angle should be 90 minus theta. So for complementary angles of projection, range will be same. So theta is 40 degree, 90 minus theta will be 50 degree. So it should be complementary angle of the given angle, that is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Range of particle when launched at 45 degree with the horizontal is 1.5 kilometer. What is the range of projectile when launched at an angle of 45 degree to the horizontal? So we know that range is given by u square sine 2 theta divided by g. Now when theta is equal to 15 degree, so r is given 1.5 kilometer, that is substitute in kilometer only. 1.5 is equal to u square sine of theta is 50 degree, 2 theta will be 30 degree divided by g. So that will be u square by 2g. So what will get? U square by 2g is equal to 1.5. Let us call it as equation 1. This is when theta is equal to 15 degree. Now when theta is equal to 45 degree, then what is the range? That's what you have to calculate. Let it be r only. So r is equal to u square 45 degree double is 2 theta is 90 degree sine 90 divided by g. So that will turn out to be u square by g. So multiply and divide by 2 in this. So r is equal to 2 u square by 2g. Now I'll put bracket for this. U square by 2g is 1.5. So it will be 2 into 1.5, that is equal to 3 kilometer. This should be the range, that is option B. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A plane is flying horizontally at 98 meter per second and releases an object which reaches the ground in 10 seconds. The angle made by it while hitting the ground is. So you need to calculate angle made by it when it hits the ground. Okay, so the plane is moving horizontally. So horizontal velocity is given, it is Vx, that is equal to 98 meter per second, and this should be equal to ux. This remains constant throughout. Horizontal velocity constant throughout. And when this plane releases the object, vertical velocity of the object initially it is equal to 0. So if I take that as v naught x or v naught y, that is equal to 0. So when it reaches the ground, velocity becomes vy. Vy should be equal to v naught y plus gt according to one dimensional equation for vertical motion. V is equal to u plus at. Now v naught y is given 0 plus g is 9.8 into t is 10 seconds they have given. So that should be equal to 98 meter per second. This is when it strikes the ground. Now the situation is, so it is in level flight like this and it releases an object, it hits the ground this way. So at this point it hits the ground. So what angle it will make with the horizontal, that is what you have to calculate. This is velocity vector. So this will be Vy, this will be Vx, and this angle is theta. So tan of this theta will be equal to Vy by Vx. So that is equal to 98 by 98, that is equal to 1. So tan theta is equal to 1, that means theta is equal to 45 degree. So it strikes the ground making an angle 45 degree with the horizontal. Okay, we shall move on to next one. So that's option B. A projectile can have same range r for two angles of projection. If t1 and t2 be the times of flight in two cases, then product of two time of flights is proportional to. So what they have given, so range is same for two times of flight t1 and t2. So let us say r is same for t1. For t1 angle of projection, let it be theta. So time of flight is t2, let us say for angle of projection 90 minus theta. See, range should be same for both the cases. So 90 minus theta and theta should be the angles. So in that case, T1 should be equal to 2u sin theta divided by g. Similarly, T2 should be equal to 2u sin of 90 minus theta divided by g, that is equal to 2u cos theta. Sin of 90 minus theta is cos theta divided by g. So now what you need to calculate here is the product of time of flight. T1 T2 is proportional to what? That's what you have to calculate. So multiply these two. T1 T2 is equal to 2 2s are 4, or I will just write 2 into 2u square sin theta into cos theta. This is what you will get, divided by g square. So you will get this. Now T1 T2 is equal to, I will take 1g out of this, I will write this as 2 by g into, see, 2 sin theta cos theta can be written as sin 2 theta. So it will be u square sin 2 theta. 1g I have written here, another g I will write it here. Now what do you get from this? T1 T2 is equal to 2 by g into u square sin 2 theta by g is nothing but r. So what you get is, anyways 2 by g is constant, T1 T2 is proportional to r. That is option B. So we shall move on to next one. A motor car is moving with speed of 30 meter per second on a circular path of radius 500 meter. Its speed is increasing at the rate of 2 meter per second square. What will be the resultant acceleration? So the car is moving in a circular path. Assume this is part of the circle. So now, since it is moving in circular path, at any point the acceleration will be centripetal acceleration, that is directed towards the center. Then it is given that it is increasing its speed at the rate of 2 meter per second square. So that means there is tangential acceleration, this is at. So now resultant acceleration must be square root of its vector sum of these two. Notice one thing, angle between them is 90 degree. So the sum of these two acceleration is this way. See, if the speed is increasing, at is along this direction. If speed is decreasing, it would have been taken along the opposite direction, then this would have been along this direction. So a is equal to ac square plus at square under root. Now at is given, this is 2 meter per second, we need to find ac. We know that centripetal acceleration ac is equal to v square by r. So v is given, it is 30 square divided by r is 500. So that is equal to 900 divided by 500, that is 1.8 meter per second square. This is centripetal acceleration. At is what? 2 meter per second square. Now resultant acceleration a is equal to root of 1.8 square plus 2 square. So that will be equal to square root of 1.8 square is 3.24 plus 4. So that is root of 7.24. So if we look at the options, so root of 7.24 cannot be 4.5. 4 square itself is 16. So 2.5 square is 6.25. It should be slightly greater than that. 2 square is 4. It cannot be. So only possibility is 2.7 meter per second square. So that is option C. Yes, with that we should move on to next one. Yes, now we have problem on work power energy. A position dependent force F is equal to 7 minus 2x plus 3x square Newton acts on a small body of mass 2 kg and displaces it from x is equal to 0 to x is equal to 5 meter. Then work done in joule is. So force is given, it is 7 minus 2x plus 3x square. It displaces object from x is equal to 0 to x is equal to 5. Now notice one thing, force is a function of x. So it's a variable force. When it is variable force, work done is given by integral f dx from x1 to x2. So here x1 is 0, x2 is 5. That's the limits. So now substitute for f and integrate. 7 minus 2x plus 3x square into dx from 0 to 5. So that is equal to, integrate this, 7x minus 2x integration is x square plus this will be x cube from 0 to 5. So substitute 5 here, it will be 35 minus 25 plus 125. If we substitute 0, you will get 0 anyways. So that will be equal to 135 joule. That is option D. Okay, we shall move on to next one. Position dependent force F is equal to 7 minus 2x plus 3x square Newton acts on a small body. Oh, this is one which we solved. Okay, a force F is equal to 5i plus 3j plus 2k Newton is applied over a particle which displaces it from its origin to the point r is equal to 2i minus j meter. Work done on the particle in joule is. So here they have given F is equal to 5i plus 3j plus 2k and r is given, it is 2i minus j. So work done should be dot product of force and displacement. Now find the dot product. Dot product means just multiply the corresponding coefficients of I, j, k and add. 5 into 2 is 10 minus 3 into 1 is 3. Anyways, there is no k component here, that is z component, so it will be 0. So 10 minus 3, that will give you 7. So that is plus 7. That should be option B. So it is 7 joules. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A uniform chain of length L and mass m is lying on a smooth horizontal table with 1/6 of the chain hanging down over the edge of the table. So, what is the work done in lifting the whole chain onto the table? So, there is a tabletop, over that there is a chain. So, some length is there for chain, let it be some L, 1/6 of the length is hanging. So, this is L by 6. So, remaining on the table is L minus L by 6, this is the thing. So, how much work is done to lift this hanging portion back to the table? So, here if m is the mass of the chain, then weight to be lifted is for this portion only, that is of the length L by 6. If total length is L and total mass is m, then mass of L by 6 is m by 6. So, total weight to be lifted is mg by 6. Now, this mass m by 6, it acts as if it is concentrated at the center of mass of this hanging portion. So, if this distance is L by 6, then distance of center of mass from the top of the table, so it should be half of that. So, distance of center of mass of the hanging portion of the chain from the top of the table should be equal to half of L by 6, that is equal to L by 12. So, work done in lifting is weight to be lifted into distance. So, work done should be equal to mg by 6, this is force required to lift it, into distance through which it has to be lifted is L by 12. So, that will be mg L by 72. That is option D. See, in this case, when you start lifting this chain, the mass of the hanging portion goes on decreasing. So, it is a variable mass. So, since that is a variable mass, the force required to lift it is also a variable. So, it will not be just mass of this into L by 6, it is mass of this into L by 12, it is half of it. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A long spring is stretched by 2 centimeter. Its potential energy is U. If the spring is stretched by 10 centimeter, potential energy in it will be. So, we know that potential energy stored in a spring is given by half kx square. So, when it is stretched by 2 centimeter, it will be k into 2 square, x is displacement. So, that should be equal to, this is 4, 4 by 2 is 2, so that is 2k. Now, when it is stretched by 10 centimeter, that is what they are asking. So, if it is stretched by 10 centimeter, then let it be u dash, that is half k into 10 square. So, that will become 100 by 2 is 50. So this is 50k. So 2k is u, so 50k should be 25 u. So that should be option D. Okay, we shall move on to next one. If the momentum of a body is increased by 100%, then percentage change in its internal energy is. So momentum is increased by 100%, then what happens to kinetic energy? So 100% increase means momentum is doubled, then what happens to kinetic energy? So we know that kinetic energy K is equal to P square by 2m, where P is momentum. Now momentum is doubled, 100% increase means it has been doubled, so it will become 2p whole square divided by 2m, so that will become 4p square by 2m. So kinetic energy, new kinetic energy becomes 4 times initial kinetic energy K. So change in kinetic energy is K dash minus K, that is equal to 3K. So originally it was K, it became 3K, means percentage increase is 300%. Notice one thing, final value is 400% of original, but increase is 300%. Increase is 300%, that is option D. Okay, we shall move on to next one. So turntable of a phonograph rotates at constant speed of 78 rpm. Rpm means rotations per minute. The force acting on a body of mass 0.012 kg placed at a distance of 0.06 meter from the center is. So the rotational speed is given 78 rotation per minute, and distance from the center is given, it is 0.06, mass is given 0.1012 kg. So force acting on it will be centripetal force, that is mv square by r. So we need to find V. They have given omega is equal to 72 rpm. So 72 rpm means so it is 72 into 2 pi. This is in one revolution how much angle it covers, divided per minute, it is make it per second, these many radian per second. So we know that V is equal to r omega. Substituting that here, we can get m omega square r. So now omega is this much, substitute for this, so you can simplify it if you want. So this will be 72, this is 60, so 6 by 5, 6 into 2 into pi is okay 3.14 divided by 5. So 12 5s are 12 6 are. So I will get it to be 6 into 2 is 12. 12 into 3.14. Into 3.14 becomes 37.68 divided by 5, that is equal to 7.536. So this is omega radian per second. Substitute here, this is 0.012 into 7.5 square into radius is 0.06. So if you multiply all of them, .5 square will be 56.25 into 0. 50 I will get it to be 0.04 8 Newton, that is equal to 4.8 418. So 4.18 into 10 power minus 2 Newton, that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A bucket containing water is revolved in a vertical circle of radius 0.8 meter. What should be the minimum velocity so that water in it does not spill out? So I need to find minimum velocity of the bucket so that water in it doesn't spill out. So let us say this is your bucket. So now, holding its handle, you whirl it in a vertical circle. So when it comes to the top, here it is inverted. So now there will be centrifugal force acting on it that should balance the weight of the water. Centrifugal force on water will be mv square by r, where m is mass of water. So for water to not spill out, fall out, so both the forces should be equated. mv square by r should be equal to mg. This gives you minimum velocity. So notice one thing, m gets cancelled, so it doesn't matter how much water is there inside. So v square is equal to gr, v is equal to root of gr. So g is 9.8, radius is given, it is 0.8. So on simplification, you will get it to be 2.8 meter per second. That is option A. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A long spring when stretched by x centimeter produces potential energy V. On increasing the stretching to nx centimeter, potential energy stored in the spring will be. See, potential energy in a string is half kx square. So u is proportional to x square. Here they have given it as v. So v is proportional to x square. Now if x is made n times, then v should become n square times. So new value of v should be equal to n square v. That is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The time taken by half HP pump to lift 1500 liter of water from a depth of 100 meter is nearly. So how much time it will take for a half HP motor to lift 1500 liter of water from a depth of 100 meter well. So power is what? Work done by time taken. The given power is half HP. You know that 1 HP is equal to 746 watts. So roughly for calculation we can take it as some 750 watts. So half HP means 375 watt. Now here work done is mgh, you are lifting water, divided by T. So T should be equal to mgh by P. This gives you time taken. So 1500 liter of water means 1 liter of water can be taken as 1 kg. So 1500 liter of water means 1500 kg into 10 into depth of the well is 100 divided by 375. So that will be roughly 4000 seconds. So 4000 seconds means, so divided by 60, you will get it in minutes. So look at the answers. So 4000 seconds is not there, they have given it in minutes. So it should be divided by 60. That is about 67 minutes. So that is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A bullet of mass m moving with a speed v strikes a wooden block of mass m and gets embedded into the block. Final common speed of the bullet and block system is. So you need to find final speed of common speed of the bullet and block. So from conservation of momentum, m into v, where m is mass of the bullet, plus mass of the gun is block is m. So initially it is at rest, so 0. That should be equal to common velocities. So both stick together, m plus m into, let us say capital V is final velocity. So capital V should be equal to m divided by m plus m into v. That is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Mass of 1 kg strikes another mass at rest elastically and continues its motion in the same direction, but with 25% of its initial velocity. Then mass of the other body is. So, they have given it is elastic collision. For elastic collision between a moving body and a stationary body, the velocity of the moving body after impact, it is given by v1 is equal to m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into u into u1. So, what they have given is it moves with 25% of its initial velocity. So, v1 is equal to u1 by 4. This is what they have given. So, it will become u1 by 4 is equal to m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into u1. So, we know that m1 is equal to 1. So, u1 get cancelled, you will get 1 by 4 is equal to 1 minus m2 divided by 1 plus m2. So, what do we get? Cross multiply, you will get 1 plus m2 is equal to 4 minus 4 m2. We need to find m2 only. So, 5 m2 is equal to 3. m2 is equal to 3 by 5, that is 0.6 kg. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. An object of mass 40 kg and having velocity 4 meter per second collides with another object of mass 60 kg having velocity 2 meter per second. The loss of energy when the collision is perfectly inelastic is. So, we need to find loss of energy when the collision is perfectly inelastic. So, for perfectly inelastic collision, the common velocity is given by v is equal to m1 u1 plus m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2 in perfectly inelastic collision. So, that will be equal to 40 into 4 plus 60 into 2 divided by 40 plus 60. So, this will be 240 plus 120, sorry 160 plus 120, that is 280 divided by 100, that is 2.8 meter per second. This is common velocity. So, loss of energy is given by half into m1 u1 square plus m2 u2 square. This gives you initial kinetic energy minus half of m1 plus m2 into v square. Now, substitute and simplify. Half into 40 into u1 is 4, 4 square is 16 plus m2 is 60 into u2 is 2, 2 square is 4 minus half into 100 into V is 2.8 square. So that will be half into 40 into 16 is 640 plus this is 240. 640 plus 240 is 880 minus 2.8 square is 7.84 divided by 2, 3.92 into 100, that is 392. So this will be 440 minus 392, that is equal to 48 joule. So that is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Yes, here we have a problem on center of mass. Two similar particles move towards each other with speed 2v and v respectively. Then their center of mass has the speed equal to. See, one particle is moving this way, other particle is moving this way. This is moving with 2v, this is moving with v. Suppose if I take right side direction as positive, then left side direction should be negative. So this should be positive, this should be negative. So velocity of center of mass is given by m1 v1 plus m2 v2 divided by m1 plus m2. Now substitute for this. M1 is, both are similar particles, so let us take it as m into 2v plus m into, this is minus v because it is in opposite direction, divided by m plus m will be 2m. So this will be 2mv minus mv, that is mv divided by 2m, that is equal to v by 2. That is option C. So we shall move on to next one. If a sphere is rolling, ratio of translational energy to total kinetic energy is given by. So for a rolling body, total kinetic energy K is given by K for translational plus K for rotational. So translational kinetic energy is half mv square, rotational kinetic energy is half I omega square. So that will be equal to half mv square plus half, given that it is a sphere, for sphere moment of inertia I is 2 by 5 mr square, and you can write omega is equal to v by r. So this will turn out to be 2 by 5 mr square into v by r whole square. So this turns out to be half mv square plus r square get cancelled, 2 get cancelled, you will get 1 by 5 mv square. So that turns out to be 10 will be LCM. So 5 plus 2, that is 7. 7 by 10 mv square. This is what total kinetic energy. So you need to calculate the ratio of translational kinetic energy to the total kinetic energy. So that is half mv square divided by 7 by 10 mv square. That is 10 by 14, nothing but 5 by 7. So that is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Two circular loops of radius r and nr are made from same wire. The moment of inertia about an axis passing through center and normal to plane of large loop is 8 times that of smaller loop. The value of n is. So we know that moment of inertia of a ring is mr square. It is proportional to square of the radius. So this is, let us say, for small loop. Let this be I1. Now if you take the same wire of same linear density, then I2 will be, it has n turns, so it has radius n times r. So n times r means, so circumference is n times, so mass will become n times m into nr whole square. So that will be equal to n cube mr square. This is I2. So mr square is I1. So I2 is equal to n cube times I1. So I2 by I1 is equal to n cube. Now they have given I2 by I1 is 8. 8 is equal to n cube. So n is equal to 2. So number of turns is 2. The value of n is 2. That is option C. We shall go on to next one. Two circular loops. This is the same one. The radius of gyration of a thin disc of radius 4 cm about a diameter is. So there is a thin disc of radius 4 cm. What is the radius of gyration? That is what you have to calculate. So moment of inertia of a disc about a diameter is mr square by 4. So moment of inertia is mr square by 4. So that should be equal to mk square, where k is radius of gyration. So k square should be equal to r square by 4. K should be equal to r by 2. So r is given, it is 4 cm divided by 2, that is equal to 2 cm. That should be option C. So we shall move on to next one. the frequency of a wheel changes from 120 by pi rpm to 180 by pi in 30 seconds. Moment of inertia is 2.5 kg meter square. Then torque applied is. So we know that torque applied is I into alpha, and alpha is omega 2 minus omega 1 divided by t. So here omega 1 is 120 by pi rpm. So that will be 120 by pi into 2 pi by 60 radian per second. So pi gets cancelled, you will get it to be 4 radian per second. Similarly, omega 2 is 180 by pi into 2 pi by 60 it should be. So that turns out to be 6 radian per second. So if we substitute for alpha, what do we get? 6 minus 4 divided by time taken is 30 seconds. So that will be 2 by 30, that is 1 by 15 radian per second square. Now torque is I into alpha. I is given, it is 2.5 into 1 by 15 . So here again none of the options match. So this will be about 1 by 6 Newton meter. Yes, with that we shall move on to next one. A meter rod of mass 200 gram is suspended by 2 strings at each end as shown in figure. A body of mass 300 gram is suspended by weightless string at 30 centimeter mark. Tension in the string 2 is. So they are asking tension in this particular string 2. So mass of the meter rod is given 200 gram. It is suspended by 2 strings, and here there is a additional weight added 0.3 kg. So you need to find tension in this. Let this be T2. Let the tension in this be T1. Now first thing, for equilibrium net force on the rod should be 0. So T1 plus T2 plus, that should be equal to weight of the rod plus added weight. So that must be T1 plus T2 upward force should be equal to sum of downward forces, that is mass of the rod plus added mass to G. So this should be the case. So T1 plus T2 should be equal to, substitute for this, mass of the rod is 0.2, added mass is 0.3, into 10. So that is equal to 0.5 into 10, that is 5 Newton. So T1 plus T2 is 5 Newton, call it as equation 1. This is condition for translational equilibrium. Now for rotational equilibrium, moment about any point should be 0. So let us take moments about this particular point. Let this point be A, this point be B. So taking moments about A. See, taking moments about A, moment due to T1 is 0 because line of action and the point coincides. So it should be T1 into 0 . So if you take moment due to T2, this is in anti-clockwise direction. So it pulls it this way. So if I hold it here, it tends to rotate it in anti-clockwise direction. So it should be T2 into this distance is 1 meter. So this is anti-clockwise moments, that should be equal to clockwise moments. Clockwise moments are produced due to this weight and this weight. So that should be 0.3 kg into this distance is 0.3 meter. So that should be 0.3 into 10 m into g into 0.3 meter plus the weight of the rod, that is 0.2 into 10 into distance at which it acts is it's at the center of mass, that is 0.5 meter. So T2 is equal to, this will become 3 into 0.3 is 0.9 plus 2 into 0.5 is 1. So T2 is equal to 1.9 Newton. See, they have asked for calculating T2, so take moments about A, so that T1 becomes, the moment due to T1 becomes 0. If they ask for T1, take moments about B. So here the answer is 1.9 Newton, that is option B. Yes, moving on to next one. Period of a planet whose distance from the sun is t, then period of another planet whose distance from the sun is 2x. If x is the distance, time period is t. If 2x is the distance, what is the time period? So that is what they are asking. So from Kepler's third law, we know that t square is proportional to r cube. So t is proportional to x cube, t square is proportional to x cube, t dash square is proportional to 2x whole cube. So t dash square is proportional to 8x cube. So t dash by t whole square is equal to 8. So t dash is equal to 2 root 2 times t. That should be option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. G is the value of acceleration due to gravity at a place on the surface of earth, and G1 and G2 be the values at height h and depth h at the place respectively. Then correct relation between G, G1 and G2 is. So G1 is at height h, so G1 should be equal to G into 1 minus 2h by r. G2 is at depth, that is G into 1 minus h by r. So clearly G is greater than G2, that is greater than G1. So that should be option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A body of mass m is taken from surface of earth to height h, height equal to radius of the earth. The change in its potential energy will be. So you need to find change in the potential energy. So when it is on the surface, let us assume the potential energy to be 0. Or if you take the at the center of the earth, the potential energy is 0, then on the surface initial potential energy will be mg into r. So when you lift it to height equal to r, then new value of g dash will be equal to gr square divided by r plus r whole square. So that turns out to be g by 4. So new potential energy, that is UF, is equal to m g dash into 2r. So that is equal to m into g by 4 into 2r, that is equal to mgr by 2. This is final. So change in potential energy should be initial potential energy minus final potential energy. So that will be mgr minus mgr by 2, that is equal to mgr by 2. So that is option A. We shall move on to next one. A satellite in a circular orbit around a planet of radius r has a period of 4 hours. A satellite with orbital radius of 4r around the same planet will have the period of. So even for satellite you can apply Kepler's third law, t square is proportional to r cube. So t dash square should be proportional to 4r whole cube. So first one is r, it has 4 hours time period. Second one is 4r. So t dash by t whole square is equal to 4r whole cube. So that is 4 cube So 4 cube is 64. So T dash by T is equal to 8. So T dash is equal to 8 times T, and they have given T is equal to 4 hours. So T dash is equal to 8 into 4, that is equal to 32 hours. So that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Energy required to move a body of mass m from an orbital radius 2r to 3r is. So energy of a satellite in the orbit of radius r is given by minus gm m by 2r. Now when you move it to 3r, that will be equal to minus gmm by 6r. When it is at 2r, it is minus gmm by 4r. This is it. So energy required, delta E is equal to difference in these two, minus gmm by 6r, this is final, minus initial is minus gmm by 4r. So minus into minus becomes plus. So that turns out to be gmm by 12r. That is option A. So it is option A. Now we have MCQs on mechanical properties of solids and fluids. So the first one, if both length and radius of the wire are doubled, how does modulus of elasticity change? See, modulus of elasticity is constant for given material. By changing the dimensions like radius, length and all, so there will be no change for modulus of elasticity. So it remains unchanged. So it should be option D. This will move on to next one. When a mass of 4 kg is suspended from a string, its length is L1. If mass of 6 kg is suspended from its length is L2. Length when mass 10 kg is suspended from it will be. So when 6 kg is suspended, length will be L1. So the length of the string is directly proportional to mass that is added. So 6 into G should be proportional to L2. Similarly, or you can write it as 6G is equal to some constant K into L2. Similarly, when 4 kg is suspended, 4 into G is proportional to L1, which implies 4 into G is equal to K into L2. So if you subtract these two, 6G minus 4G is equal to K into L2 minus L1. So now when 10 kg is attached. Let's say length is L. So 10 G should be equal to K into L. So 10 G minus 4 G, if I consider, we call this as 1, 2 and this as 3. So 3 minus 2, if I consider, 10 G minus 4 G is equal to K into L minus L2. Okay, I have given this as L1. So this will be K minus L minus L1. So from this we can solve for L in terms of L1 and L2. So this implies 2G is equal to K into L2 minus L1. So this implies 6G is equal to K into L minus L1. So equating the right hand sides, so if I multiply this equation by 3 and equate it to this, 3K into L2 minus L1 is equal to K into L minus L1. So K gets cancelled. What you are left with is 3 into L2 minus L1 is equal to L minus L1. So 3L2 minus 3L1 is equal to L minus L1. So send this to this side, you will get 3L2 minus 2L1 is equal to L. That is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The bulk modulus of rubber is 9 into 10 to the power 8 Newton per meter square. To what depth below the surface of sea should a rubber ball be taken so as to decrease its volume by 0.1%? So bulk modulus B is given by pressure divided by delta V by V. So here we need to calculate depth. So pressure at the depth is given by rho GH. So now delta V by V is given, it is 0.1%, that is equal to 0.1 by 100, that can be written as 10 power minus 3. Now you need to calculate H. Substitute these two things here. So you will get B is equal to rho GH divided by 10 to the power minus 3. So H is equal to B divided by B into 10 power minus 3 divided by rho G. So substitute and simplify. H is equal to B is 9 into 10 to the power 8 into 10 to the power minus 3 divided by density of water is 10 to the power plus 3 into 9.8. So this turns out to be 92 meters. So that is option C. So roughly 100 meters. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A steel wire of length 20 centimeter and cross section 1 millimeter square is tied rigidly at both ends at room temperature, that is 30 degree Celsius. If the temperature falls to 10 degrees, what will be the change in tension? Given Young's modulus is 2 into 10 power 11 Newton per meter square and alpha is 1.1 into 10 to the power minus 5 per degree Celsius. So, we need to find the change in tension. So, to find change in tension, we know that delta L is equal to L alpha delta T. This is thermal expansion. So, F should be equal to Ya delta L by L. So, substitute for delta L, that is Ya L alpha delta T divided by L. So, that should be equal to Ya alpha delta T. So, now substitute and simplify. Y is 2 into 10 to the power 11. Area of cross section is 10 power minus 6. Alpha is 1.1 into 10 power minus 5. And change in temperature is 20. So, that gives you, so 10 powers get cancelled. So, 2.2 into 20. So, that will give you 44 Newton. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A wire can be broken by applying a load of 200 Newton. The force required to break another wire of same length and same material but double in diameter is. So, for any material, breaking stress is constant. So, breaking stress is force by area. So, if F is the breaking stress of the first wire, so F divided by area is pi r square, that should be equal to F dash divided by pi r dash square, or you can also write it as F by pi d square by 4, where I have substituted r is equal to d by 4, d is diameter, F dash divided by pi d dash square by 4. So, from this what you can conclude is F dash by F is equal to d dash by d whole square. So, F dash is equal to F into d dash by d whole square. So, F is given, it is 200 Newton, d dash is 2 times d divided by d whole square. So, that gives you 800 Newton. So, this is the new breaking force. Notice one thing, breaking force is different, breaking stress is constant. It is constant for given material. So, that should be option D. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A particular force F applied on a wire increases its length by 2 into 10 power minus 3 meter. To increase the wire's length by 4 into 10 power minus 3 meter, applied force will be. So, when you apply force F, the elongation is 2 into 10 power minus 3 meter. So, what should be the force to elongate it to 4 into 10 power minus 3? So, we know that y is equal to FL divided by A delta L, or you can solve for delta L. Delta L is equal to FL divided by AY. So, clearly for a given wire L is constant, area of cross section is constant, for given material Y is constant. So, delta L is proportional to F. So, if delta L is doubled, force should also be doubled. So, new force should be equal to double the initial force, that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A metallic beam having Young's modulus Y is supported at two ends. It is loaded at the center. The depression of the center is proportional to y 1 by y square 1 by y square. So, when a beam is loaded at the center, the depression at the center is given by delta is equal to WL cube divided by 4D cube into y, where L is length, W is weight added, B is breadth and D is thickness. So, clearly delta is inversely proportional to Young's modulus Y. So, it should be option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Now we have questions on fluids. First one, water is filled in two vessels A and B to the same height as shown in the figure. The base area of the two vessels is same. If FA and FB are the forces exerted by the water on the base of A and B respectively, W and WB are the weights of the vessels, then FA is greater than FB, WA is greater than WB, FA is less than FB, WA is less than WB, FA is equal to FB, WA is greater than WB, FA is equal to FB, WA is equal to WB. So, here the width of the vessels are not same, but water is filled to the same height. So, pressure at the bottom of A, pressure at the bottom of B will be same. That is what we call it as hydrostatic paradox. Since they have given base area of both the vessels is same, so force is pressure into area. Pressure is same, area is same, so forces must be equal. That means either it should be option C or it should be option D. Now, notice one thing, base areas are same, but the water in this content, volume of this vessel is greater than volume of this vessel. So, this occupies or this accommodates more amount of water than in this case. So, obviously weight of water in A is greater than weight of water in B. So, it should be option C. So, it is not option D. So, that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The pressure on a swimmer 20 meter below the surface of water at sea level is. So, pressure at a depth is given by atmospheric pressure plus rho GH, where H is depth. So, PA is atmospheric pressure, that is 1.013 into 10 to the power minus 10 to the power 5 Pascal, plus rho is 10, G is 10, depth is 20 meter. So this will be 1.013 into 10 to the power 5 plus this will be rho is 10 power 3. So this will be 10 power 4, 10 power 5, 2 into 10 power 5. So that turns out to be 3.013 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So that is roughly 3 atmospheres. 1 atmosphere is this much, so this is roughly 3 atmospheres. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Yes, now we have problem on fluid dynamics. A liquid flows through a pipe of non-uniform cross section. If A1 and A2 are the cross-sectional areas of the pipe at 2 points, ratio of velocities of the liquid at these points will be. So A1 and A2 are the cross-sectional areas. What is the ratio of their velocities? So let us say where the area of cross section is A1, velocity is V1, where area of cross section is A2, velocity is V2. Then we know that A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. This is what your continuity equation. So V1 by V2 is equal to A2 by A1. So that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A water tank open to atmosphere has a leak in it in the form of a circular hole located at a height h below the open surface of water. Velocity of water coming out of the hole is. So the situation is there is a tank and in the tank there is a hole. So water level above this is at a height h. So water is coming out of this. So with what velocity it comes out? So this is a direct formula. Velocity of efflux that is given by root of 2gh. So this is h. That is option C. Okay, we shall move on to next one. The difference in velocities between two layers of water 20 meter apart in a flowing river is 4 meter per second. The shear stress between the layers is. So shear stress is P, that is F by A, that is equal to eta into dV by dx. So eta of water is given dv is given, dx is given, just substitute and simplify. So eta is 10 to the power minus 3 Pascal second it is, that is the SI unit. dv is difference in the velocities, that is 4 meter per second. dx is 20 meter apart. So that will be 0.5 into 10 to the power minus 4. That is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A viscous fluid is flowing through a cylindrical tube. The velocity distribution of the fluid is best represented by the diagram. See, when there is a tube, the top and bottom surfaces, they are rigid surfaces. The layer of liquid which is in contact with that will be at rest. So as you move away from that, velocity goes on increasing. So as you move away from the topmost layer, the velocity of the next layer will be greater, next layer will be even greater, and so on. Similarly, when you move from the bottom surface, so it will go on increasing, so that the one at the center, layer at the center, will have highest velocity. So velocity is 0 for the layer which is in contact with the pipe, walls of the pipe, and it is maximum at the center. So the correct answer should be option C. Okay, we shall move on to next one. The viscous force acting on a raindrop of radius 0.35 millimeter falling through air with velocity 1 meter per second is given. Eta of air is 2 into 10 power minus 4 Newton second per meter square. So we know that according to Stokes law, F is equal to 6 pi eta r v, where r is radius of the object. So since it is spherical object, we can use this formula. So this is your Stokes law. So now substitute and simplify. 6 into 22 by 7 into eta is 2 into 10 power minus 4 into 0.35 into 10 power minus 3 into 1. So now simplify this. So 6 into 22 into 2 into 0.35. So we'll get 13.2 into 10 to the power minus 7 Newton. So that is force. So that is option D. Next we shall move on to next one. The velocity of a small ball of mass m and density d1 when dropped in a container filled with glycerine becomes constant after some time. If density of glycerine is d2, viscous force acting on the ball is. So viscous force acting should be equal to resultant of weight and buoyancy. So weight is mg, buoyancy will be mg into d2 by d1, where d2 is density of liquid and d1 is density of solid. So that turns out to be mg into 1 minus d2 by d1. So when the velocity becomes constant, that means it has attained terminal velocity. So at that case, net force must be 0. In that case, viscous force should be equal to apparent weight. Apparent weight is weight minus weight loss, that is buoyant force. So that gives you option A. So we shall move on to next one. As the temperature of a gas is raised, its viscosity increases, decreases, remains same? None of this. See, if it is a liquid, on increasing temperature, viscosity decreases. For example, castor oil. If you heat it, its viscosity decreases, it flows faster. But if it is a gas, then viscosity increases with increase in temperature. So viscosity of a gas increases with increase in temperature because collision rate increases. So number of collisions increases. Due to this, the viscosity of a gas increases with increase in temperature. So that is option A. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A wire 10 cm long is placed horizontally on the surface of water and gently pulled up with a force of 1.8 into 10 power minus 2 Newton to keep the wire in equilibrium. What is the surface tension of water? So surface tension is given by F is equal to 2T into L, where T is surface tension. So this implies T is equal to F divided by 2L. So force applied is 1.8 into 10 to the power minus 2. L is length of the wire to be taken. 2 into length of the wire is 10 centimeter. So that will give you 0.09 Newton per meter. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Surface energy of a small liquid drop is U. It is sprayed into 1000 small and equal drops. The surface energy of each sprayed drop is. So surface energy is E is equal to surface tension into surface area, that is 4 pi r square. So this is for a bigger drop. So when it is sprayed into 1000 drops, 1000 small drops, volume should be same. So that means volume of big drop, that is 4 by 3 pi r cube, should be equal to 1000 times the volume of small drop. So 4 by 3 pi get cancelled. So R should be equal to R. 10R should be equal to capital R. So R should be equal to R by 10. So they have given this surface energy to be U. U is equal to 4 pi R square into T. Now new surface energy for each drop, let it be U dash, that should be equal to 4 pi into R by 10 square into T. See, this is essentially R square, 4 pi R square into T. This is what we want. So that will turn out to be 4 pi R square T divided by 100. 4 pi R square T is U, so it should be U by 100. So U dash is equal to U by 100. So that will be option C. Yes, we'll move on to next one. A water film is formed between two parallel wires of 10 centimeter length. The distance of 0.5 centimeter between the wires is increased by 1 millimeter. What will be the work done? Surface tension is given. So work done should be equal to surface tension into increase in area. So that should be T into, since it is film, it has two surfaces, so it should be T into 2 times the change in area. So that should be 2 into 72 into increase in area is 1 millimeter, that is 0.1. Into 10, they are expecting answer in ergs, so it will turn out to be 144 ergs. That is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Determine the energy stored in the surface of soap bubble of radius 2.1 centimeter if its surface tension is 4.5 into 10 to the power minus 2 Newton per meter. So energy stored is surface tension into area. They have given it is soap bubble, so it has two surfaces. So energy stored U should be equal to surface tension into 2 into 4 pi R square. So just substitute and simplify. So surface tension is given 4.5 into 10 to the power minus 2 into 2 into 4 8, pi is 3.14 into R square 2.1 into 10 to the power minus 2 whole square. So if you simplify, you will get it to be 4.93. into 10 to the power minus 4 joule. So that is option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Two mercury drops, each of radius r, merge to form a bigger drop. Surface energy of the bigger drop, if T is the surface tension, is. So, surface energy of bigger drop should be EB is equal to surface tension into surface area, that is 4 pi r square. This should be the surface area. So this should give you surface energy. Now we have to express this in terms of small letter r. So when two drops coalesce to form single drop, what happens to new radius? So volume of two small drops, that is 2 into 4 by 3 pi r cube, should be equal to volume of big drop, that is 4 by 3 pi r cube. So 4 by 3 pi get cancelled. So small letter r or capital letter R, if you solve for, capital letter R will be equal to 2 to the power 1 by 3 small letter r. So this will be the situation. Now substitute that here. What do we get? Four into pi into r square. R is 2 to the power 1 by 3 r square into t. So that will be 4 pi into 2 to the power 2 by 3 into r square into t. Now this 4 can be written as 2 square now you can add these two powers. 2 plus 2 by 3 will be 8 by 3 pi r square into t. So that is option D. So that completes problems on mechanics 2, mechanical properties of solids and fluids. Thank you.